Please take an opportunity today to visit one of our tables over here, back to learn about the volunteering at the National Cemetery. We also have information on eligibility for burial, and there are folks there to answer any questions you might have. Also, you will find many ways to support the cemetery through donations, such as the Cemetery Bench Program and the Tree Donations Program. Please join us for our next ceremony, which is Wreaths Across America 2021, scheduled for December 18th. This ceremony and the voluntary wreath placement will be spread out over the entire day between 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. More details on times and donating wreaths can be found at the wreathsacrossamerica.org, code New York GSNS. Lastly, being that it's still the 50th commemoration period of the Vietnam War, I ask all Vietnam veterans who have served between 1955 and 1975, regardless if you were in country, to join us to receive a special lapel pin for your faithful and honorable service. Today we are here to honor and commemorate the dead and the living, our fellow Americans who in every war since this country was set forth have given testimony to their loyalty to their country and our shared American family. We gather to commemorate this Veterans Day for a few minutes, a few seconds of silence, and then this country's life goes on. But it's better that we recall on this occasion and every occasion when we are faced with great responsibilities, the commitment and the sacrifice for which so many of our fellow Americans have made. Thanks to our veterans' dedication to the fellow American, this country now occupies its present position of responsibility and freedom. Historian Bruce Canton, after totaling the casualties at the Battle of Antietam, a battle where in a few minutes 50 to 75% of the regiment fell dead, he wrote that life perhaps isn't the most precious gift of all. Nearly every man at Antietam died for a few feet of cornfield or rocky hill. But in a very large sense, they died so this country would remain united and that it may one day fulfill the great hopes of its founders, a group who knew the value of freedom and its independence. On this Veterans Day, on this day of remembrance, let us join to honor those who sacrificed for our freedom and strive for the day when there will be no veterans of any further war. Not because all have perished, but because all shall have learned to live together in peace. We commemorate this Veterans Day for a few minutes, a few seconds of silence. The doughboys of the Great War to end all wars. World War II, on the wind-swept beaches of Normandy, on the frozen ground of Korea, in the sweltering jungles of Vietnam, in the sandy deserts and high frozen mountains of Iraq and Afghanistan. All during all the years of restless peace between conflicts. Today we remember them all. We also remember the men and women who today stand guard and keep the peace across the nation in a faraway place around the world. Every day they put their lives on the line for us. Soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardmen who stepped forward and answered the country's call. They are veterans of tomorrow. It is our duty to remember the sacrifices of all veterans and to make certain that our commitments to them and to their families are honored, not just on Veterans Day, but every day. I leave you with a quote from the 40th President of the United States, Ronald Reagan. Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We don't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on to them to do the same. Or one day we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in the United States where men were free. To my fellow veterans, stand tall, just as the veterans did before you. You are the reason we stand here today. Thank you, and God bless.
Please rise if you're able to do so. Chaplain Deborah G. Bolt from Saratoga National Cemetery Support Committee will share with us today's invocation.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming. God of love, our hearts are full of memories as we gather today. Memories of friends and comrades who served under arms in the great wars. We come remembering those who fell in battle and those who offered their bodies, minds, hearts, and spirit in fighting for a better world. Lord of love, we ask you would grace us with your presence, help us in our pain, hear our prayers, and look upon us, our thoughts today. Bless us and bless those who gave the best of themselves for others. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
We will now post the colors. Posting of the colors will be performed by the Saratoga National Cemetery Honor Guard. I invite all active duty and veterans to stand and salute, and all others to stand and place their hand over their hearts. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and the National Anthem. Present arms!
Come left, march! Come left, march! Left side, up! Left, feet!
Order, arms! Please join the Stillwater students in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Order, present arms!
You guys ready? All right, go ahead.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Take a seat. Next, the national anthem will be performed by Kelsey Dodd. Detail, present, arms!
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Order, arms!
Break shoulder, round!
Everyone may be seated, please.
Order. Arms.
John Meehan, the chairman of Saratoga National Cemetery Support Committee, will now introduce our distinguished guests.
First of all, I'd like to ask if there's any former POWs in the crowd. There normally is, and I'd like to have them stand to be recognized. No. We have Saratoga County Sheriff Mike Zerlo. Please stand. And thank you.
Kathy Mokler from the Cemetery Support Committee will now recite the Gettysburg Address.
Fourscore-and-7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it, far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here, dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from this earth. Abraham Lincoln, November 19th, 1863.
Kelsey Dodd will now perform Lee Greenwood's Proud to be an American and God Bless America.
If tomorrow all the things were gone I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife, I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause that flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me. And I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me. And I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, through the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home. Thank you.
Essay readings will now be read by Stillwater students Finley Bourne, Lily Langto, and Mia Andrus.
What Veterans Day means to me. To me, Veterans Day means to honor our veterans who've served and made our lives free. Veterans are very brave men and women who fight or fought for our rights. They deserve to be honored each November 11th for their bravery and patriotism. Veterans leave their homes and their family to fight for our freedom. So if I asked you right now to leave your family and everything you own to fight for our country, what would you say? I'm guessing you would be very uncertain about that. This is why our veterans are our heroes. My grandpa is a veteran. He fought to make our country free. He was one of many to sacrifice himself so we can have freedom in the United States. Maybe you have a family member or a relative who served. If so, the next time you see them, make sure to thank them for their service. Veterans are some of the bravest people you will ever meet. Our veterans sacrifice themselves to make our country free. They are very patriotic, and we should look up to them because a bunch of them died fighting for our freedom. So next Veterans Day, take a moment to honor these amazing men and women. This is what Veterans Day means to me.
What Veterans Day means to me. What Veterans Day means to me is that we should take a day and remember all those who have served for our country. Veterans Day is a very important day for our country because without all those people who have fought for our country, we would not be free to this very day. Originally, Veterans Day was called Armistice Day and was just to honor people who had fought in World War I and World War II. Now, we don't just honor World War I and World War II, but we honor all the people who have fought in all wars. What we can do to honor veterans is we can go to a memorial or wear a poppy or even give a card to a family member who is still serving for our country. You should honor the sacrifices that they have made for our country and for our freedom. My uncle used to be in the military and fought for our country and for our freedom. My uncle was in the Army branch. He risked his life for our safety. It means a lot to me that him and my grandfather get honored on Veterans Day. Veterans Day is a very important day to millions of families all around the world. Thousands of families in the U.S. have taken Veterans Day as a day to remember all those who have to honor all those who have fought in the wars. This day is a very important day to the families who have had somebody in their family serve for our country. Finally, Veterans Day is overall a very important day to our country. We all have the ability to honor veterans on Veterans Day. That is what Veterans Day means to me.
What Veterans Day means to me. Veterans Day to me is a day that you honor. What Veterans Day means to me. Veterans Day to me is a day that you honor veterans for what they have done. Some veterans have to move away from their families to get into the military. One way to honor veterans is you can wear a poppy flower. You can write them a letter to tell them what they mean to you. A lot of veterans give up their freedom to fight for our freedoms. They make sacrifices every day to fight for our country. Another way people honor veterans is the President of the USA puts a wreath on the tombstone of the unknown soldier in the Arlington National Cemetery every year to honor the soldiers who have fought for our country. In conclusion, I think we should honor veterans every day, not just November 11th, because of all the things they do for us.
I'd like to invite John Meehan back up to the podium for the Prisoner of War and Missing in Action tribute.
I've done this ceremony probably 50 times over the last 10 years. Every time I do it, it's tough. I'll do the best I can. This table is our way of symbolizing that members of our profession of arms are missing from our midst. They are commonly called POWs or MIAs. We call them brothers. They are unable to be with us, so this is how we remember them. The table is set for one is small, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner against his or her suppressors. The tablecloth is white. Symbolizing the purity of their motives when they answered the call to duty. The single rose, red rose in the vase, displayed in the vase, reminds us of the life of each of the missing and the loved ones and friends of these Americans who kept the faith awaiting answers. The vase is tied with a yellow ribbon, a symbol of our continued determination to account for our missing. A slice of lemon on the bread plate is to remind us of the bitter fate of those captured or missing in a foreign field. A pinch of salt symbolizes the tears endured by those missing and their families who seek answers. The glass is inverted to symbolize their inability to share this evening's toast or supper. The chair is empty, which reminds us they are missing. Remember, all of you who are safe here today, for what they have done. Remember, all of you who served with them and called them comrades, who depended on their might and aid and relied on them, for surely they have not forsaken you. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce the keynote speaker of the ceremony. It's Lieutenant Colonel Jamie Cox, United States Marine Corps, retired. A native of Northwest Ohio, Jamie attended the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, and subsequently served 20 years in the Marine Corps as a naval aviator flying attack helicopters. Deploying for Operation Desert Storm, Kuwait, Operation Restore Hope, Somalia, Operation Uphold Democracy in Haiti, and twice to Operation Iraqi Freedom in Iraq, Jamie flew 117 combat missions and was recognized for valor in combat multiple times. He received the Purple Heart for wounds received in action in Fallujah, Iraq in April 2004. His non-operational tours include as an instructor pilot at the prestigious Marine Aviation Weapons and Tactics Squadron 1, known as the Marine Corps' Top Gun School. 2 tours in the Pentagon and a highly competitive congressional fellowship where he was assigned to the United States House of Representatives for 18 months and co-authored 13 federal appropriation bills and other legislation. In 2015, Jamie commenced his role as a turnaround CEO at a failing human services nonprofit organization. With his vision and leadership, he expanded the mission of the organization to encompass mental health care, utilizing trauma-informed care and veteran retreats focusing on peer support and art therapy, financial assistance, physical wellness nutrition, and support for the homeless. After completing the Master's in Business Administration program at the University of Texas at San Antonio in 2019, Jamie assumed the role of President and Chief Executive Officer of United Way of Northern New York in June 17, 2019. He's married to the former Jacqueline Carter, a 25-year retired U.S. Secret Service agent. They have 3 wonderful children, Jake, Danica, and Jessica. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our keynote speaker, Lieutenant Colonel Jamie Cox, United States Marine Corps, retired.
To Mr. Meehan, Mr. Lamb, the Saratoga National Cemetery Support Committee, all the veterans standing out here, and of course family and friends. It's an honor to be here today, standing in front of you to celebrate all the men and women who've served in uniform during times of peace and during times of war. The veterans that we're talking about are as unique as the fingerprints on our hands. They're men and women. They're white, black, Hispanic, and Asian. They come from every faith and every creed. They come from every street corner in America. Their diversity is the fabric of our nation. As I stand here today, I can envision the soldiers in Saratoga winning the very first battle of the Revolutionary War and giving our nation that was just born of imperfect perfection a chance. We can look to the dark days of our country when the 59th New York Infantry Regiment fought in Gettysburg. We can read about President Woodrow Wilson on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918 making his proclamation for Armistice Day. Together we can walk around this cemetery and touch headstones for soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen that confronted fascism and brought our world prosperity. We can walk over to the bell right now for the USS Saratoga, and as we toll that bell, think about that ship off the coast of Iwo Jima in 1944. The chill in the air reminds me, Kelsey Dodd's grandfather in the front row in the United States Marine Corps in the 1st Marine Division. It reminds me of the freezing, bitter cold in the Chosin Reservoir in North Korea. I can feel the sting of the Vietnam veterans, the men and women that came home, and our nation failed to thank you. I remember the moment-to-moment living in a Cold War where we counted on men and women to be ready at a moment's notice. And of course, I can't forget the morning of September 11th, 2001, as we watched our people die at the hands of a merciless enemy. I can see, hear, taste, touch, and smell the chaos of combat. I can see women to my left and men to my right. I can hear their screams, yells, sobs, and laughter. I can taste the grit of sand in an MRE. I can smell the acrid gunpowder, but I can feel the broken spirit of a veteran who's home alone right now. And I can sense the challenges that we face as a nation right now in this disarray. Today's veterans are an interwoven tapestry of the men and women who served our country for 245 years. A renowned story told to me by one of my personal heroes, General John F. Kelly, is going to illustrate to you what today's veterans are made of. And I hope I give General Kelly justice by using my voice. On April 22nd, 2008, 2 Marine Corps infantry battalions were switching out in Ramadi, Iraq. One unit had just finished their 7-month deployment, and the other unit had just shown up to start their deployment. There were 2 young Marines, Corporal Jonathan Yale and Lance Corporal Jordan Harder, 22 and 20 years old respectively, one from each battalion, who were assigned to guard duty. They were to stand guard at a gate for an outpost that housed 50 Marines and 100 Iraqi policemen. Corporal Yale was a dirt-poor farmer's kid from rural Virginia. He had a wife and daughter, but he was also taking care of his mother and his sister, and his salary was $23,000 a year. Lance Corporal Harder, middle-class white kid from Long Island. They couldn't have been any more different as individuals. You know, today's society focuses on race, ethnicity, level of education, economic status. But for Yale and Harder, that didn't matter. They were brothers, forged in a crucible, and they were as close as 2 siblings could be. And whether you're an Air Force veteran, a Navy veteran, an Army veteran, those bonds between those individuals, it doesn't matter branch of service or gender. These 2 young Marines took their post. They were at Joint Security Station Nasser in the Sophia district of Ramadi, which is in Al Anbar province, Iraq. They had 6 seconds to live. That long. When they took their post, a blue truck came down an alleyway toward the front gate. The truck revved its engine and began to accelerate. In the first second, the 2 Marines didn't have time to question what was going on. They didn't have time to call their sergeant and ask for advice. They made a decision. In seconds 2 and 3, they presented their weapons, took aim, and opened fire. The suicide bomber continued racing toward them, And there was a security camera video that caught this. The Iraqi policemen who were on duty were firing their weapons also, but at some point they dropped their weapons and ran, like any rational human being would do. For the next 2 seconds, yelling harder, laid on the triggers, pouring bullets into the windshield, and shards of glass were going all over the place. In the last second, the truck came to a stop. These two gentlemen had not hesitated. They didn't even take a step back. Their feet were shoulder width apart, and they were leaning into the danger. They didn't think about family or flag. They didn't even have time to think about their own lives. All they thought about was their duty. Six seconds from here to eternity. The Gerald B.H. Solomon National Cemetery in this beautiful region of New York is the final resting place for actually thousands of heroes. Buried on these very hallowed grounds include Sergeant Tom Baker, who was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions on the island of Saipan in the Pacific in 1944. He's laid to rest at Section 8, Site 530. Technical Sergeant Peter D'Alessandro also won the Medal of Honor on December 22, 1944 in Kulturberg, Germany. He died in 1997 and is buried at Site G12, Site 1. Lastly, Army Specialist 4th Class Raymond Wright. He won his Medal of Honor on May 2, 1967. He passed away in 1999 and is resting in Section 7, Site 1035. Our post-9/11 veterans are here as well amongst us. Our cemetery has Army Sergeant Ben Osborne of Queensbury, New York, who was killed in action on June 15, 2010 in Afghanistan. He resides at Section 7, Site 126. Also with us is Marine Lance Corporal Anthony Denyer from Mechanicville. He was killed in action in the Helmand province of Afghanistan, and he's in Section 7, Site 137. There are 8 other young men that were killed in action since 9/11 here on our grounds today. You know, New York State has also given our fair share of daughters. 8 women have been killed in combat since 9/11 who hail from New York. 3 of them include Army Sergeant Carrie Ann Gasowitz from Chicotagua, New York, who was killed in action on December 4, 2004 in Baghdad, Iraq. Lieutenant Colonel Jamie Leonard from Warwick, New York, who was killed in action on June 8, 2013. And finally, Marine Corporal Ramona Valdez. She came from the Bronx. She was killed in action on March 23, 2005 in Fallujah, Iraq. This cemetery is home to many fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, brothers and sisters, distant relatives and friends. Corporal Arthur Crow and his wife Connie reside in Section 6, Site 669. Their daughter Nancy and son Art, who I served in the Marines with, are sitting in the audience today. Today's veterans face a higher number of challenges than ever. We have a higher unemployment rate. We're faced with significant mental health issues, and our suicide rate is higher than the civilian population. Despite the derision and divisive talking heads that we see on TV or on the internet, it is our veterans who've been the foundation and continue to be. They are firefighters, they're school teachers, they're bus drivers, they're small business owners. They are keeping us all together. I ask you, don't honor veterans just on Veterans Day. There's meal discounts and retail store sales, but what our veterans really need is support all year round. Whether you're giving them thanks or opportunity, that's all our veterans ask. Our nation is mired in a cultural war. For all those who find joy in creating animosity by dividing us based on our differences or differing opinions, I urge you to do this. Get in a car and drive north to the Army's Fort Drum in Watertown, New York. Go south to the Marine Corps' Camp Lejeune in North Carolina. Go east to Naval Station Norfolk in Virginia, or go west to Kirtland Air Force Base in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Because there you will find men and women who work and live for one thing: you. It's imperfect perfection. Not so long ago, I read a missive on the internet. I couldn't find who the author was, but it's entitled, "It is the Veteran," and I'm going to share it with you very quickly as I close. It is the veteran, not the politician, who has given us the right to vote. It is the veteran, not the preacher, who has given us the freedom of religion. It is the veteran, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of the press. It is the veteran, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. It is the veteran, not the campus organizer, who has given us the right to assemble. It is the lawyer, or it is the veteran, not the lawyer, who's given us a right to a fair trial. It's the veteran who salutes the flag, who serves the flag, and eventually whose coffin will be draped by the flag. To steal from William Shakespeare's Henry V, I wish all of you a happy Veterans Day. We happy few, we band of brothers and sisters. To my fellow Marines, happy 246th birthday, sir, and Semper Fidelis. God bless our veterans, God bless our families, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise if you're able. I invite all active duty military and veterans to salute and all others to place their hand over your hearts. Please remain standing for the rifle volley and taps. The Saratoga National Cemetery Honor Guard Association will now perform the rifle volley followed by taps as we pay tribute to all veterans past and present. Detail attention! Rifle squad, you may commence the rifle salute. Present arms! Order, arms! Please remain standing for Chaplain G. Bolt in our benediction.
Let us go forth into the world in peace and dedicated to your service, O Lord. Let us hold fast to what is good, render to no person evil for evil, strengthen the faint-hearted, support the weak, help the needy and the afflicted, and honor all people. Let us love and serve the Lord, rejoicing in the power of His Spirit, and may God's blessing be upon us and remain with us always. Amen. And God bless America.
At this time, we will retire the colors.
Right, face. Then a half step, forward, march.
Present arms!
Come left, march. Come right, march.
Order, arms!
Order, arms.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our ceremony. Thank you and God bless. That is it. Thank you, young ladies.
Are you kidding me? That big red jacket standing out of it, it says United States Marine Corps. You can't miss it.